I could also invite to the scene Artūrs Caune, project manager of RB Rail, and let's have the discussion and questions and answers in respect of studies. Before that, there was a question which came in, how much money is actually available already in 3 Baltic states, and currently available project funding with signing 2 CEF agreements is 765 million, and Estonian part is 229 million, Latvian 295 million, and Lithuanian 242 million. Now, starting with studies and maybe reflections from the previous part of the day, do you have any comments that you have heard today that has been interesting so far and you just wanted to remind ourselves? Is there anything coming up? Not at the moment? Okay. Now, my first question is, which comes in relation to studies, but it's actually more how we will innovate. And yesterday, the question was raised that what we would prefer, proven solutions or new innovations. And this is always a difficult point. And what do you see from now in terms of studies we have carried out or we will carry out? What will be our approach in respect of innovations and new technological ideas?
Of course, we like to have the most latest technology available, but of course, no study can exactly tell that what will be this new innovation, because innovation is going on through this project anyway till the end. And of course, in some moment, is it before procurement of something, then we have to decide, will we go for the new thing or we will proven technology? So it's, but anyway, where we can use any innovation, we will use that.
Okay, anything to add?
I would add that, whatever is avant-garde today may not be avant-garde 10 years down the line. So we also have to have the capacity and flexibility to actually take those technologies and innovations on board as we proceed. We cannot fix ourselves today for something that will last until the next major upgrade, maybe in 30 years. So it's important, as Kaido emphasizes, that we keep a very open mind towards the ability to absorb technologies and innovations during the design phase and thereafter during construction phase.
Okay. Now, in terms of questions, still we use slido.com, and please write down your questions if you are watching us through internet. And also there is possibility to ask questions from the audience. Is there anyone who right now would like to raise a question in respect of studies? Yes, here we go. Just wait for the microphone, please.
Rimantas Baravikas, Lithuanian Railway Daughter Company for Design. Just you ordered a lot of studies, or intended to order it. And in the previous presentation, we see what you already planning the construction phase and other phases. And we see also some unlogical, let's say, from some activities. Or you are planning to change your, let's say, implementation phases depends on the studies results?
Mm-hmm. Who is willing to take?
I can just say a very general comment, and then Artūrs and Kaido will tell exactly. For sure, of course. I mean, even a document such as the CBA can influence the project plan and the way we deliver eventually. I reckon that also business plan and certainly consolidated preliminary technical design will affect the project schedule. But I think Artūrs is best equipped to respond to this.
Yeah, being very short and saying some sentences in addition what Kaspar said is that we are not procuring the studies just to procure the studies, but to have more in-depth insights and proposals for decisions for the upcoming phases. So the studies definitely will be used as decision-making tool for the future.
And maybe one general remark that in terms of what we are planning to do and how we are planning to do, We are having regular contacts with implementing bodies and beneficiaries in all of the countries. And obviously, we hear also what our shareholders are saying through the supervisory board. So if there are some things that are missing, feel free to comment on that and give us your guidance or feelings. Other than we are looking for the what market is saying to us as well. Okay, now in respect of Slido, the question comes, maybe I could rephrase a little bit. If the company has provided certain advice to RB Rail or implementing bodies in each of the countries, will the same company be allowed to participate in other stages? Like here's the example, if the company has prepared design in one of the countries, for example, and then could it also apply for tenders for construction in other countries or throughout the project? What would be your answer?
No problem.
You don't see a problem, yes?
Well, some contracts will essentially be design and build, so clearly it could be the same company doing it. The legal point of view.
Okay. Now, the next one question, are there plans to implement BIM solutions in the development of Rail Baltica? And if yes, when the BIM guidelines will be implemented?
Yes, answer is simple. Yes, there are plans to implement BIM solutions, and as you can see already from the procurement plan, the tender is scheduled for third quarter this year. So it means the implementation itself will be late this year or next year.
And when the first design, when we will receive the first designs, we would like to have this already in BIM.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience in respect of studies? Now then, let's take the other question from Slido. Why is RB Rail doing the study on freight terminal in Estonia? How are these areas split between RB Rail and national countries? Yeah.
You can answer.
Yes, Kasper?
A general introduction. In fact, I'm very glad about this question. It just provides the opportunity to comment also on the wider division of responsibilities between the joint venture as the central coordinator and national implementing institutions. As you will find also on our website, there's an infograph of procurement principles, and you will find there are sort of 3 boxes. And one of the boxes, the first box, which involves elements such as studies, business development, some of the design activities, the sole responsibility of those elements is delegated to RB Rail, because the idea was, of course, not to duplicate any functionality between the joint venture and the national implementing bodies, and to evolve RB Rail as the kind of a study center of competence. That's one element to it, that all studies, I mean, almost exclusively, 99.99% of studies will be done by the joint venture. If we take into account a particular freight terminal in Estonia, you can look at it in 2 ways. On the one hand, yes, there's a very important national component. Those will be critical pieces of infrastructure for the national states to leverage Rail Baltica and to add value to their logistics and trading industries. But at the same time, every important local facility, every freight terminal adds value and impacts on the entire Rail Baltica Global project. It's certainly, we are viewing the project in terms of one unified value chain, one unified logistics corridor. And for that reason, it makes a lot of sense that even those, what you could regard as locally important terminals are studied by the joint venture. Because at the end of the day, and if we take, for example, terminals in Tallinn, Muuga terminal is not just a local facility for a limited Estonian use. In fact, it's an interface between the entire Rail Baltica corridor and Finland. So that interface, and making sure that interface works for the entire Rail Baltica line and thereby ensures competitiveness of the product, of the freight product on Rail Baltica, it has to be viewed in the context of the global project. So for that reason, both in terms of procurement division and in terms of common sense, I think it makes sense that RB Rail carries out these studies.
And perhaps also the issue of costs is something that we as a coordinating body are the ones in charge and overlooking and trying to control costs so that this is
We don't want to duplicate the function nor the cost.
Okay, thank you. Now, can you introduce a little bit more of the latest progress of the design guideline tender? And we found the status is still open in website, but the deadline was 3rd of March. Now, I have mentioned it before that we will try to avoid any comments in respect of the existing procurements just because of procurement laws that require us then to immediately inform everybody on the same answers. But perhaps this about whether it's in the process is something that we can answer.
I have, in the next presentation, I have a slide about the design guidelines. I will talk a little bit more about why
Okay,
we
so
are doing.
please stay tuned at least for next 15 minutes or so. Now, another question coming up, will RB Rail issue any tender on support for project management and whether we plan to do everything by ourselves? What's in respect of expert of pools issue?
Yes, as you can see, again from the procurements list, we are preparing for expert service procurement. This means this procurement will be kind of first package of required expert services to deliver Rail Baltica, and this will be announced quite soon.
So soon there will be a tender for expert pool, and if you are looking for, please visit our webpage, railbaltica.org. And secondly, also there will be our newsletters coming out. So please sign up for newsletters if you want to get current information of what is happening in our project as well. But our webpage is the main channel to see updates on our project. Is there any other question from the audience in respect of studies at this point of time? If no, then I would like to say thanks to our panelists and the first presenters, and Kaido Zimmerman, Kaspars Briškens, and panelist Arturs Caune. Feel free to contact them if you have still some questions in respect of studies. And we now proceed with the second topic, and this is design, and this will be led by Kaido. Please, Kaido. And for our audience, while our guests are leaving, I just want to remind, please feel free to give your questions for designs now still on slido.com, so that we will have the questions then afterwards immediately answered on this question and answers session. And Kaido Zimmerman is, as I know by now, railway specialist for more than 22 years, working in both Estonia and Latvia. So he knows a little bit about railways and design. Kaido, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, after the studies, the second big thing this year is we will start designing of Rail Baltica sections. And in the beginning, I will talk a little bit about the general plan, what we have now, and then more about design procurements in this year. So that's the slide showing who is responsible for what in our Rail Baltica project. And that's today, I'm talking only about design of track and structures, because design of the signaling, RTMS, and design of the electrification part will be differently structured. There will be design and build contract, as Kaspars already explained before, and that's only now for the track and structures. Today, we have received from Latvia, already the preliminary design of the line. We have received one section, you can say half of the Estonian preliminary design and half of the Lithuanian special plan from Kaunas to the Latvian border. These preliminary designs have made based on the country's understanding of the Rail Baltic. They were started long time ago. In the very beginning, the countries agreed some basic parameters that are 240 kilometers per hour and so on, only very basic. And as you may know that in Baltic States we don't have any designing standards for the European gauge. We have all 15, 20 gauge countries and we have used former Soviet Union or Russian standards for designing. And every country are now in different phase with these preliminary designs. They have made totally different preliminary designs. I can tell that the Estonians have done very, very detailed preliminary designs. I just may say that this is too much for this phase now. Latvians are okay, and in Lithuania there is very basic drawings only. And now we have to put together the global project design from that every country have made different preliminary designs. In Estonia, this is in Estonian and English language. In Latvia, this is only in Latvian language, and Lithuania, this is only in Lithuanian language. And that's quite a complicated phase now, what and how we can go on. That's why we have developed consolidated preliminary design. Now we will make from these three different designs one global project design. And of course, you can understand that we cannot redesign all the line now in half a year. So we can do on this phase only that we will analyze each project section by sections, and we will make our recommendations for the next designers. What kind of problems we have now on these different designs? I can tell that if we compare the Estonian and Latvian design, then in Latvia there is a station next to the border in Salaskriva, together with substations, and next station in Estonian side, and that's, I can say, 12 kilometers from the Estonian-Latvian border. And next station in Estonian is already, in Estonia is already 2 kilometers from the border. So in our agreements and our technical needs are that there is 50 kilometers between the stations. We don't need so often all these stations. So now, on this case, our recommendation for the next phase designing company will be that they have to find the solutions how to move this station on the right place. Not just 50 kilometers away, but also this place have to have some kind of meaningful place there. Is there any other things? And as we know, all this alignment already, what is almost fixed every country, that we cannot, and we don't want to put this station on some curve somewhere. So we like to still have the straight sections. And the other thing, can say that the substation for the electrification is also in Salaskriva. It's right place, and our one in Estonia is actually 20 kilometers from the border. And we know that in 25 kilovolt systems we may have 60 to 80 kilometers between the substations. So we actually have one substation more, what we actually don't need them. And our recommendation for the next phase designers will be to find a way how to move this substation into the right place. Or if we look the other problematic places, then in Latvian-Lithuanian border section, we have in one place, in 1 kilometer section of railway, 4 viaducts, and 3 of them under 300 meters of the railway. So there must be better solutions to solve how we connect the local roads to the main road, not having 3 viaducts next to each other. So that is such a questions what we have to analyze, We will make our recommendations and we will give over to the next phase designers. What will be then detailed technical design? This detailed technical design will be in 2 phases. That's master design and detailed design. During this master design phase, we can explain that this is something like the preliminary design, but the designing company have to, if they can, of course, take account our recommendations and propose the new high level, you can say preliminary design level design for us for acceptance. And of course, we will work together with designers, together with the implementing body, together with the local governments to find the best solutions, because many of these things are related to the local government's needs and what they wanted to have from this project. And on this phase, when we have approved the master design, then it's the green light to do the detailed design of structures and embankments. So, and we are doing that to ensure the interoperability, because as I told, every country have designed their own Rail Baltic sections now. So we have to have the one global project design. So on the dates here, that as I told, Latvians already gave their preliminary design. Estonians will finish the last section in the first quarter of 18th, but we can of course start doing the consolidation already before, because we have first sections ready. And in Lithuania, the last section will be Kaunas-Vilnius, what will be finished then in the 2019. Consolidated design we will do in-house with help from pool experts if we don't know many things there. We are not sure what exactly will come out, but we are planning to do that in-house plus with some experts. And we will finish that for Latvia 2018, and we are doing that section by section also, because in Latvia the central section will start the construction, the first construction, and we have to do some sections before the other sections, and we will take account all needs for implementing body, where and when they need to have consolidated design ready, and when they like to start the detailed design. And in Estonia we will finish in 2018, and in Lithuania 2020. And detailed technical design, we hope that we can finish 2020 in Estonia and in Latvia. In Estonia, we have finance from the CEF for all design. In Latvia, we have today finance available only for the central sections, but we have applied for the next CEF funding for other lines. And in Lithuania, we are planning to finish the detailed design 2022 for the last section, what is then Vilnius-Kaunas. That's now our today's understanding how we will do the design phases and technical assessments. That's Estonia, and we are planning to do design in 2 sections, from Tallinn to border of Pärnu County and down to the Latvian border. These sections are approximately 100 kilometers long, both. In Latvia, we have 4 sections. We have from Estonian border up to the Vangaži, from Vangaži up to the Lithuanian border, and 1 circle here with the central part. And of course, there is ongoing design already in the local facilities in Latvia. In Lithuania, we have also 4 studies. We're starting from here up to the, sorry, but I don't remember the county border there, but sorry, Lithuanians, but I will figure out that later. So that section is something like 70 kilometers, and we choose that as a first section because they have money available for construction on these sections, so we will start the designing and on this section first. Then we will, sorry, the wrong button. Then we will do the part to the Latvian border, and as you already know that there will be feasibility study and spatial plan on this section starting at the end of the year, and then when this is ready, then we can do the design here, and last section will be the Kaunas-Vilnius. And the all sections except the central part here, and they are 70 kilometers. All the others are approximately 100, 110, 90 kilometers. So, and we believe that there is such a companies available in Europe or in the world who can do such a size of the design in 1.5 years. Is it too much to ask? So that's today's plan. During these sessions here, and if you feel that this is totally impossible to do this way, then please tell me that. But because we have also consulted with some other companies that they are telling that this is possible if everything will go well. So, but that's our today's understanding. Design guidelines. As it was already mentioned, we don't have any technical standards except, of course, the European laws, DSIs. But as we know, the DSIs are too broad. We still have to find the more concrete figures and numbers. That's why we made the study to find a company who will help us to develop our design guidelines for the Rail Baltic. These guidelines, of course, have to be fully compliant with the DSIs and European regulations, and we hope that these design guidelines will be available from October 2017. Before we will start the tendering for the design phases. I hope that the winner of this tender will be announced soon. We are almost ready. And of course, in these design guidelines also we have the operational rules, the preliminary operational rules to design the line, because we need to understand something before we will do the designing. And the other thing is what we have to do is to find a similar legend to our drawings, because today every country have their own signs. How it's in English that we really have to figure out what exactly is meant under this sign here or there, and now we have to make the one comment for all the project that everyone can understand the similar way all these drawings. So upcoming tenders. This year is 6 tenders. 5 of them are upcoming and 1 is ongoing. Ongoing tenders is actually procurement on Latvian implementing bodies, Eiropas dzelzceļa līnijas. Qualification phase was announced last year already. Submission deadline was this year, and second phase will start May, June. And we hope that the contract will be signed Q4, and on this moment already have also the design guidelines ready and our consolidated preliminary design for this section, what is approximately 4 kilometers long. And the other studies. Then we will start the first section of Estonian detailed design tender on the Q4 this year. Then we have technical assessments of the technical design. Sorry, but I have to go back on the slide. I forgot to tell you. After the design, we have technical assessments. And that's according to the Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian law. If you have the large project, you must do technical assessment or expertise of this project. And that's according to law, we have to do that. We have planned so that if we have, let's say, in Latvia, 3 different design tenders, then we have only one assessment company. That one assessment company will assess all 3 different designing companies' designs. That we have one understanding of all project. The same in Estonia, that if we have in Estonia 2 designing companies, that we still have one assessment company who looking over the both project, and the same in Lithuania. And then the next level is notified body. As we know, we have to control our designs against the DSIs, and that can be done only by notified body. And our understanding today is that we will have one notified body for all 3 countries for design phase of embankment, structures, and track. Later on, we may have different notified bodies for electrification, different notified bodies for RTMS. Maybe we will have different notified body for construction part. Maybe we have the similar who chose for the design. We don't know yet. It's still under the discussion. But we plan to have one who is controlling all designs the similar way that we have common project. And we have the detailed technical design for the central section in Latvia, and also the technical assessment tender for Latvia at the end of this year, and one tender for the NOBO for the Baltic States. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaido. And again, I would like to invite Artur Sauna for the questions and answers session. Please feel free to pass your questions on slido.com. And I just wanted to start with a small historical note on the question side. Well, preparing for the seminar, I just read that when in 19th century the railroad was built, it was some thought that it will be a really frightening prospect. There were fears that it will be impossible to breathe while traveling at such a speed, and that the passengers' eyes would be damaged by having to adjust to the motion, how the nature goes by. And some scientists even said that cows disturbed by the noise would stop producing milk, or that sheep would turn black from the smoke. Now, coming back to today's environment, how will our project address environmental concerns and make sure that Latvian cows do not stop producing milk? And or there are any other serious concerns that you are already addressing during design stages?
In the preliminary designs, there is also, before that, there is part of the special plan and spatial planning and environmental impact assessment. This is all done in all countries. So there is all needed things for the environment taken account. Of course, if we will redesign anything here in this phase, we have to take account all environmental questions and find the best solutions for this project.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from audience? Yes, please. And maybe you can comment. Remember, Kaido asked, can you comment on the timeline? Is that viable and feasible that we are actually planning to do?
Yes.
Please.
Hello, Arnis Kakulis from AECOM. In the previous sessions, there was some questions about language in the tender process, which seems to be relatively complicated and hopefully easily resolved soon. What is the language issue on the technical design? If the local technical designs are prepared by the countries, the consolidated preliminary design is created by yourselves in-house, what language will that be in? And then once we go back to the final technical designs, what language will that be in so that the designers understand, again, how to price their proposals, knowing that there may, again, be translation at a magnitude unseen in the local market before, and what that impact will be to the cost of these design processes. That's the question. Yeah. Responding to Kaido, because I need to be kind to you, I think it's doable, but it will be extremely aggressive, which means that I would imagine pricing will come in a little higher because the resources for the larger companies will have to be increased to deal with that time constraint. That's my
to ease your job, we are planning to, in this design guidelines also the standardized as much as possible, that you don't have to think a lot which way to put cables or what kind of things to use, that we, as much as possible, we like to give you standard options to you to the quicker this design. But in the language, we can only do in English. We cannot do that in Latvian and in Lithuanian. We don't know all the languages. So at least consolidated premium design will be in English. I actually don't know exactly on the final designs in the different states that can have we do also in different member states languages, or is it enough to do only in English? So we have to study that.
We need to study and probably also address to work with technical authorities in each of the country to show our approach and to find a mutually acceptable way so that it is for the benefit of the whole project that we proceed as fast as possible. Any other? Artur, do you want to comment?
I would say, as the drawings, I think the language is clear, and this will be electronically and quite standardized. But of course, then for those at least administrative procedures, you will need for sure as well the national languages, because you cannot go through all the administrative approvals if you don't have the language.
Because all the technical conditions you have to receive from the local governments or local entities or the cable companies, whatever, they are in local languages. So you have to have anyway the experts who understands these languages.
Okay, thank you. Now, I would like to come back to the question which was actually asked during the very first plenary session, that whether the companies or experts with experience on working with 15-20 millimeters gauge will have any advantage in respect of procurements for this European 1435 millimeters gauge and lines.
Yeah, some areas. If we look at the central station of Riga, the big part of this project on the railway side will be changing of 15-20 gauge tracks on different places. So in this project, there is no way that you don't know 15-20 gauge rules and standards. Same with some other places like Muuga, design of the Muuga terminal, where also both gauges are involved, or in Ülemiste passenger stations, where also we have to move Russian gauge tracks side to replace put there the Rail Baltica railways. So it's some places it's needed, but this is maybe 5 to 10% of total amount of design where this is actually needed.
Okay, thank you. Now, if we can now turn to Slido for questions from coming through slido.com. And the one that will be addressed later on, but I could now also reply, why the procurement for Riga Central Station and Bridge was arranged as closed tender and why limited participation. I guess there might be some answers by next speaker, by Agnis Driksna. And other than that, in detail on existing procurements, feel free to write your questions to the contracting authority and it will be replied according to procurement laws. Now, whether and yes, that's the next question, how the planned design guidelines and common procurement studies will affect the specifications of ongoing design procurements.
As I told, the first ongoing design is Riga airport design, and if everything will go well and they will sign the agreement in the Q4, then this moment we must have design guidelines available. During the procurement process, they have written into the term of reference that during this time they have to use German railway standards, because there wasn't anything better to put there. So it's, but later we have the design guidelines available.
Okay. Now, in addition to NOBO assessment services, will you also be procuring DIBO and independent safety assessment services?
Definitely not this year. I would
It's
say.
too early to say, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's continue with the questions coming from Slido. There are plans for electrification of Lithuanian and Latvian railways. Is there compatibility assessment of Rail Baltica electrification project and those plans? How far are these issues?
So I know that Latvian Railways is of course planning 25 kilovolt systems. That's the same what we are planning in Rail Baltic. Lithuanians already have 25 kilovolt systems on their existing Lithuanian railway lines, and maybe some substations we even will use commonly in Lithuania. It's not clear yet. The studies have to show to us, and yeah, we will study these things because there is, let's say, in the central station here in Latvia is actually the question that we will have existing 3 kilovolt DC systems running, and we will put later 25 kilovolts or 2 times 25 kilovolts for the RB rail, and of course we have to understand how these two things working together.
And as you remember, Kaido was asked for inviting you to make comments on whether it's doable to do the plans and designs as we planned. And there is one comment on Slido saying you mentioned 1.5 years for design being the worst possible scenario. But then the question is does that include soil investigations, topography surveys, obtaining technical requirements, and approvals? How do you see this 1.5 years? Yes, they are inside this time. Of course, with some sections we have more time because we don't have yet all money available for all construction phases. We have only, like in Latvia, we have a central section. In Estonia, we have also some sections, and these to start construction on these sections, we even may, during inside of this one procurement, may different sections there that designing company have to finish maybe some sections, let's say, I don't know, 35 kilometers in first, and second after that. So we will focus on the first section so that we will have in the middle of the 2019 first design ready, that we can start the tenders for the construction and start the constructing the railway in 2020. And continue with the other sections later. We will have a little bit more time, but we have to sectionize these things for the smaller to get ready for the construction time. But all I can tell that in Estonia there is very detailed soil investigation done. In Latvia, almost nothing. In Lithuania, almost nothing. So every company have to do their own soil investigation. And also in Estonia, probably there is the need to additional soil investigations also. Depends on the, of course, the designing solutions, what they will propose to us. Thank you, Kaido. Any questions from the audience? Yes, please. There is the one. Let's start with the gentleman in front, and then we will. Yes, if you can. Here, in on the very front, very first. Elena, here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Boton Orban from Innovation and Networks Executive Agency.
It was quoted several times during these 2 days that 2 EU grants were awarded already to the global project for the cross-border for this cross-border actions under CEF1 and CEF2, and indeed in these grant agreements which were signed between the EU and the beneficiaries, a tight deadline was set up for design and also some construction works to be done by 2020. So I'm pleased to see this ambitious planning for the design, and I just can urge you to keep to this tight design planning, just because to be able to absorb those millions of euros which were already awarded to the global project and still to be awarded soon. Thanks.
Thank you. That was a very good comment, reminding us that because financing is also coming from the EU funds, there is certain time frame that we need to follow, and that's one of the things that we need to take into account as implementing bodies. And there was also one question from the gentleman on the top. Yes?
Hi, I'm Satnam Tiara from Balfour Beatty in the UK. My question is around electrification design. Will detailed design contracts include electrification design? And if so, how will the overhead catenary system design be selected for this part of the project?
With electrification, there is different approaches. In Riga Central Station, what have the bridge and the station building, they have to design together with electrification systems there. Otherwise, it's impossible to do that. On the main line, we are planning to do detailed design for structures and embankments and tracks without detailed design of the electrification. So the designers have to understand that they have to have place for the later design of the catenary. The same with the signaling. The signaling designer or the detailed designers have to understand and to have enough place to put signal boxes if there is needed, or point machines. They have to take this account. But signaling is not part of the detailed design, and electrification is not part of detailed design, except local facilities where station buildings and the tunnels have to have this already incorporated into the project.
Do you want to add something? Yes, please.
So if they're not included right now, when is it going to be thought of to be included in future tenders?
We will do a study about electrification, how we at all can do this in these sections, and then after this study, it's clear how we can actually do that. And our today's plan is to have design and build tender for the electrification, so that this company who wins this tender will design and also later build electrification for all 3 countries.
So this is coming up after study.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The same with RTMS and signaling and communication, all in one tender. That's our today's plans.
Are there any other questions from the audience at this moment? If no, then I could address the question from Slido. Will the design guidelines specify specific components or just performance requirements?
I would say this is subject to elaboration of the design guidelines itself, but likely they will not specify specific products, because we have to follow the procurement rules and have open attitude to every supplier.
Okay, and then there is also a question, will procurement notices be issued via official journal of the European Union? And the answer is, when this threshold is passed, then these notices will be available also on the European Union webpage. But please do follow railbaltica.org webpage for news on upcoming procurements, and also the information on these 2 days of the Global Forum. If there is no immediate question right now, I would like to thank you both panelists for getting and giving us answers, also to design issues. Kaido Zimmerman and Artur Zaune, both involved with RB Rail project and located here in Riga. So thank you very much, and we will now continue with the final presentation.